I'm Francis, passionate about leadership. Today, let's break down leadership par excellence. What separates the ordinary from the exceptional? Ready to rethink what's possible? Subscribe, like, and share. Let's get started. Leadership par excellence, a global perspective. Definitions. It's important to lay a solid foundation for this video by clarifying conceptual understanding before delving into the meat of the matter. Leadership is the process of influencing, guiding, and inspiring others to achieve a shared vision or goal through competence, character, and strategic action. Par excellence means being an outstanding example of a kind. Thus, leadership. Par excellence is the consistent practice of exemplary leadership, driven by noble vision, unmatched character, strategic brilliance, and selfless commitment to uplifting all stakeholders, resulting in transformational outcomes and enduring trust. Par excellence is a French term used to emphasize that something or someone is a supreme, outstanding, or preeminent example of its kind. Leadership. Par excellence is the consistent act of influencing others toward a noble vision with exceptional character, strategic insight, and selfless commitment, creating a legacy that reshapes possibility. Leadership. Par excellence means consistently showing exceptional character, clarity, moral authority, people-centered service, and measurable impact, delivered with trust for the common good over time. Leadership par excellence is the highest expression of leadership, where influence, competence, character, service, and impact meet to drive transformation and lasting trust. This leadership doesn't just function, it elevates, transforms, and endures. It is rare, not because it is unlearnable, but because it fuses high competence with even higher character, challenging systems rooted in short-term gain and personal ambition. Now that we have clarified these key concepts, let's transition to the contemporary landscape of leadership. In 2026, leadership par excellence is a dynamic, multifaceted capability fusing human empathy and AI fluency. This video explores evolving leadership across Africa, Europe, Asia, and the Americas, highlighting regional trends, case studies, and the global move toward human-centered, agile governance. Across continents, 2026 marks a turning point where traditional hierarchical models are being replaced by distributed leadership. Key universal drivers include human plus AI synergy. Leaders must blend machine efficiency with uniquely human judgment, empathy, and ethical oversight. Today, leadership is measured by how well organizations operate during systemic disruptions, such as cyber attacks, not just theoretical security. Psychological safety. Creating an environment where diverse, dispersed teams feel safe to innovate is essential for high performance. One question begging for an answer is, why is leadership still the greatest unmet need of the 21st century? Despite unprecedented access to education, technology, data, and global connectivity, nations, institutions, corporations, and faith groups still face the same problem: leadership failure. Governments struggle to govern. Institutions lose credibility. Organizations collapse under ethical failures, and societies pay the price. Is leadership truly scarce, or have we lowered the standard? Today, I invite you into a deeper conversation, not about leadership in name, but about leadership par excellence. Leadership at its highest, rarest, and most consequential form. Leadership. Par excellence is not leadership by accident. It is not leadership by election, appointment, inheritance, or force. Leadership par excellence is leadership earned through trust, validated by results, and sustained by character. We have presidents without leadership, executives without stewardship, religious leaders without moral credibility, and influencers without responsibility. Leadership par excellence rejects this illusion. It insists that leadership is not conferred. It is proven, and it is proven daily, under pressure, scrutiny, and sacrifice. Exceptional leaders see beyond the present moment. They interpret history, understand context, and anticipate the future. Leadership par excellence is guided by ethical boundaries, respect for human dignity, and a commitment to justice and fairness. Hold on, wait a minute. To put this discourse in proper perspective, we need, as a matter of necessity, to grasp the purpose of leadership. When the purpose is unknown, abuse becomes inevitable. Leadership is not an ornamental role, a ceremonial title, nor merely a mechanism to fill a vacuum of authority. The purpose of leadership is to produce measurable, positive, and sustainable improvements in the lives of the people being led. Any conception of leadership that does not translate into human progress is, at best, incomplete and, at worst, illegitimate. Leadership's true purpose is to create palpable, measurable improvements in the lives of the led, elevating their well-being, dignity, capacity, opportunities, and potential through vision, empowerment, and service. It is not merely filling a vacuum, though necessary, but transformative stewardship that solves problems, builds institutions, and leaves societies better. That is the dire state of the world of today. Effective leaders prioritize collective flourishing over personal power. Let us take a cursory look at leaders who excelled in their spheres of influence. Leaders in recent human history who factually improved lives. Here are verified examples, post-1945, with tangible positive impacts. Nelson Mandela, 1994 to 1999, South Africa ended apartheid, established the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, healed divisions, GDP growth from 0.5% to 3%, poverty reduced by 10%. Lee Kuan Yew, 1965 to 1990, Singapore transformed a poor port into a global hub. GDP per capita rose from $500 to $12,000. Literacy rose from 52% to 90%, and housing was provided for 80% of citizens. Angela Merkel, 2005 to 2021, Germany, navigated the Eurozone crisis. Unemployment halved, 11% to 5%. Refugee integration created over 1 million jobs. Jacinda Ardern, 2017 to 2023. New Zealand COVID response, 1% mortality. Child poverty reduction 10%. Mental health reforms reached 500,000 plus citizens. Babatunde Raji Fashola, SAN, is renowned for his technocratic leadership, characterized by rigorous discipline and a focus on long-term infrastructure. His career is marked by two distinct phases of high-impact service. Governor of Lagos State, 2007 to 2015. He revolutionized tax collection by replacing the corrupt old agency with a performance-driven Internal Revenue Service, LIRS. This increased the state's monthly internally generated revenue, IGR, from approximately 7 billion naira in 2007 to over 20 billion naira by 2013, providing funding for massive public works without relying entirely on federal allocations. His administration earned global praise for successfully containing the Ebola outbreak in 2014 through swift isolation and tracking. Federal Minister, 2015 to 2023. Serving under President Buhari, Fashola headed the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, later split into the Ministry of Works and Housing. He prioritized completing long-stalled projects rather than starting new ones, successfully delivering the Second Niger Bridge, the reconstruction of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, and the Abuja-Kano Road. Known for his scorecard culture, he regularly held public briefings to provide data-backed updates on over 800 road contracts and 37 bridges simultaneously under construction. In summary, Fashola's legacy is one of doing more with less. His leadership combined the legal precision of a senior advocate with the efficiency of a project manager, setting a benchmark for accountability in Nigerian governance. Professor Dora Akunyili at the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, 2001 to 2009, is widely celebrated for transforming the agency from an ineffective body into a formidable regulatory powerhouse. Her legacy is defined by eradicating fake drugs, she spearheaded a war against counterfeit medications, reducing their circulation in Nigeria from an estimated 80% in 2001 to 15% by 2006. Her reforms led to the lifting of bans on Nigerian-made food and drug products in neighboring countries and earned international acclaim for Nigeria's health sector. Despite surviving assassination attempts, notably in 2003, and constant death threats from drug cartels, she refused to be compromised by bribes. She introduced advanced authentication systems, such as mobile text-based verification, that allowed consumers to verify whether drugs were genuine. She launched massive education campaigns and public naming and shaming of counterfeiters to empower citizens to protect themselves. Professor Ishaq Oloyede, as the Registrar of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, since 2016, has revolutionized the agency through unprecedented financial transparency and technological innovation. He transformed JAM from a budget-dependent agency into a major revenue generator, remitting over 55 billion naira to the federal government since 2016. This is a sharp contrast to the mere 50 million naira remitted total in the 38 years prior to his tenure. Leveraging these financial surpluses, he introduced caps in 2017 to automate and standardize admissions, effectively eliminating illegal or backdoor admissions and ensuring merit-based placement. Oloyede's tenure has set a new benchmark for public service in Nigeria, proving that government agencies can be both transparent and highly efficient. Franklin D. Roosevelt, United States, led the U.S. through the Great Depression with the New Deal, expanding Social Security, employment, and public infrastructure, stabilized the economy, and restored public confidence. José Pepe Mujica served as the 40th president of Uruguay from 2010 to 2015. Mujica gained international fame as the world's poorest president because of his austere lifestyle, which included the car. He famously drove his weathered light blue 1987 Volkswagen Beetle instead of a presidential motorcade. Frugal lifestyle. He lived on a modest, run-down flower farm instead of the presidential palace and donated approximately 90% of his monthly salary to charity. After his presidency ended on March 1, 2015, he remained a respected public figure and continued to use the same car. Mahatma Gandhi, India, mobilized nonviolent resistance that led to independence and restored national dignity, empowering millions politically and morally. Some leaders delivered democratic dividends, economic growth, jobs, and infrastructure. Others reduced poverty and inequality, advanced health and education, and built systems that endured. In contrast, placeholders perpetuate the status quo or worsen problems, sustaining corruption, stagnation, and blame. The purpose of leadership is to bring hope, opportunity, dignity, and progress. Without real improvement, leadership loses its meaning, regardless of rhetoric, power, or time in office. It must be unequivocally recognized worldwide that anyone in a position of authority who cannot improve the lot of the people they lead with palpable, measurable improvements has no business in leadership. History is unambiguous. Leaders are justified by outcomes, not intentions, by impact, not presence. True leadership exists to serve, transform, and elevate the human condition. This video intentionally omits the names and actions of past and current leaders whose failures in leadership are significant and undesirable, as mentioning them could inadvertently give them undue attention. For more insights, you are kindly urged to watch my past video, The Leadership Paradox, Influence, Impact, and the Growing Void, for an in-depth, incisive analysis of the global leadership deficit. The link to the video is in the video description. Competence and Service Delivery Leadership. Par excellence is results-oriented since good intentions alone do not fix broken systems, charisma does not build infrastructure, and rhetoric does not educate children or heal economies. Exceptional leadership delivers functional institutions, measurable outcomes, and sustainable progress. Leadership par excellence treats power as a trust, not a reward. accept responsibility for failure, resist blame shifting, submit themselves to oversight, and understand that leadership is temporary, but consequences are permanent. Accountability is the currency of trust. Where leaders refuse accountability, institutions decay. Stewardship means leaving systems stronger than you met them, not depleted, captured, or corrupted. Leadership as a global crisis. Across continents, cultures, and political systems, one concern unites humanity today: the crisis of leadership. In Nigeria and across Africa, citizens ask why leadership often fails to translate power into prosperity. In North America, societies wrestle with polarization, declining trust in institutions, and leadership credibility. In South America, cycles of reform and relapse raise questions about governance, corruption, and sustainability. Different contexts, different histories, but the same underlying problem: the absence of leadership par excellence. This presentation is not about blaming regions, it is about restoring standards. Defining leadership par excellence in a global context. Leadership par excellence transcends geography. It is leadership that earns trust across social divisions, delivers tangible outcomes with respect for institutions by placing national and societal interest above personal or partisan gain. Whether in Abuja, London, Tokyo, or Washington, Brasilia, Buenos Aires, or Nairobi, leadership excellence is judged by the same universal criteria: character, competence, accountability, and legacy. Nigeria: leadership, trust, and the burden of expectation. Nigeria represents one of the most critical leadership laboratories in the world. A nation rich in human capital, natural resources, and entrepreneurial energy, yet persistently challenged by weak institutional trust and governance deficits. Leadership personalization. Leadership par. Excellence in Nigeria must first confront the erosion of trust. Nigerians do not lack intelligence or resilience. What they often lack is confidence that leadership exists to serve rather than extract. Here, leadership excellence means treating public office as stewardship, not entitlement, strengthening institutions beyond individuals to deliver security, infrastructure, and economic inclusion. Nigeria does not need messiahs. It needs system builders with moral authority. Africa must evolve from liberation leadership to institutional leadership. Much of Africa's leadership history was forged in liberation struggles. Those leaders fought colonial domination, unified fractured identities, established sovereignty, only to weaponize poverty and scarcity against their compatriots. But leadership par excellence in 21st century Africa demands a transition from liberation leadership to institutional and developmental leadership. Africa's challenge today is not independence, but economic transformation, democratic consolidation, and ethical governance. It has therefore become imperative for leadership excellence in Africa to demand respect for term limits and constitutionalism, investment in education and innovation, rejection of ethnic, tribal, religious, and patronage politics. Africa's future will not be secured by strongmen, but by strong institutions led by principled leaders. North America. North America, particularly the United States and Canada, operates within strong institutional frameworks, yet leadership par excellence here faces a different test: polarization and moral fragmentation. Challenges include declining trust in political leadership, culture wars overshadowing governance, and short-term political wins over long-term national interest. Leadership par excellence in North America must restore civility without sacrificing conviction, govern for the whole, not just the base, and re-anchor leadership in truth, responsibility, and restraint. Strong institutions cannot compensate indefinitely for weak leadership character. Universal pillars applied. Across regions, across Nigeria, Africa, North America, South America, and even Europe, leadership par excellence rests on 5 non-negotiables. Moral authority. Leaders must be trusted before they are followed. Competence. Leadership without capacity is dangerous. Accountability. No leader is above scrutiny. Inclusive influence. Leadership must unify, not fracture. Legacy thinking. Leadership must outlive tenure. These principles do not change with geography. The cost of leadership failure. Across continents. Leadership failure is expensive everywhere. In Nigeria and Africa, it manifests as underdevelopment and brain drain. In North America, it appears as institutional cynicism and social division. In South America, it results in instability and reform fatigue. The price is always paid by the poor, the young, and future generations. Leadership par excellence is not confined to government. It applies equally to corporate leadership, faith-based leadership, civil society, media, and academia. In every region, institutions collapse not only because of bad leaders at the top, but also because of complicity, silence, and lowered expectations. Leadership excellence must therefore become a cultural norm, not an exception. Consequently, leadership starts with you and me. Whether you live in Lagos, Nairobi, New York, Toronto, São Paulo, or Bogotá, leadership begins with the individual before leading others. Leadership par excellence demands self-governance, ethical consistency, and courage to resist popular wrong. Societies do not magically produce great leaders. They cultivate them or tolerate their absence. Conclusion. Leadership. Par excellence is neither Western nor African. It is human. It is the leadership standard required to navigate complexity, restore trust, and secure the future. If Nigeria, Africa, North America, Europe, Asia, and South America are to thrive, leadership must once again be earned by service, measured by impact, and judged by legacy. This is not merely a leadership conversation. It is a civilizational imperative. Africa. Resilience and Pan-African innovation. Leadership in Africa is characterized by its focus on sustainable economic growth and the navigation of a rapidly expanding labor force. Sustainable development and youth mobilization. The 100 Most Notable Africans Leadership and Business Summit 2026 in Marrakesh emphasizes uniting changemakers for impactful, sustainable development. This is critical as Africa faces the world's fastest labor force expansion, with 12 million young people entering the market annually. Afrocentric leadership models. There is a growing shift toward an Afrocentric view of leadership that aligns the continent's cultural depth and values with global contexts. Research at the Henley Center for Leadership Africa focuses on African leadership optimism, exploring success stories through appreciative inquiry to build a unique body of leadership knowledge. Operational excellence, Namib Mills, Namibia. Case studies, such as the Namib Mills Group, illustrate the challenge of scaling innovation. CEO Ian Collard transitioned the company from a traditional hierarchy to a flat structure to empower business units, a move that requires careful talent management to retain young professionals. Europe, strategic competitiveness and human-centered agility. European leadership in 2026 focuses on economic competitiveness, defending democratic systems, and maintaining climate ambition. Agile and people-focused training leadership excellence in Europe is increasingly defined by professional agile leadership, PAL-E. Training sessions in hubs like London and Amsterdam focus on building trust, clarity, and connection to foster engaged teams. Furthermore, the EU faces mounting pressure to revitalize its economy through digitalization. Leaders are tasked with navigating the complexity of changing business models while ensuring organizational stability. The Avira framework, awareness, vision, imagination, responsibility, and action, is a prominent model used to guide leaders through these transitions. Events like the PowerShift Summit in Marbella, January 2026, highlight the need for future-proofing strategies and elevating leadership energy to meet the challenges of a disruptive global environment. The Americas. In the Americas, leadership is often associated with visionary innovation and the ability to steer massive organizations through global crises. The American leadership landscape is defined by iconic figures like Satya Nadella, Microsoft, Mary Barra, General Motors, and Bob Iger, Disney. These leaders are cited as benchmarks for steering companies to new heights through resilience and strategic expansion. Institutions like the Harvard Kennedy School offer programs that challenge leaders to examine the values and assumptions shaping their choices. Modern workshops in cities like Detroit focus specifically on AI-augmented leadership, teaching leaders to integrate human intuition with machine-driven data. Initiatives like Break the Ceiling, Touch the Sky, New York, April 2026, focus on unleashing the business impact of belonging and high performance, particularly by celebrating inspirational women in leadership and their male allies. While the foundational traits of excellence, empathy, ethical decision-making, and strategic foresight are consistent globally, the application varies by region. Africa prioritizes youth integration and cultural alignment. Europe emphasizes agile frameworks and balancing economic competitiveness with social values. The Americas lean toward visionary scaling and the integration of AI at the executive level. Ultimately, leadership par excellence in 2026 is the ability to lead with insight rather than just information, ensuring that organizations remain human-centered in an increasingly automated world. Thank you for staying tuned to the end. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, and share. Please join me for another insightful episode on leadership. Cheers.